This video was brought to you by my loyal patrons. Pledge today and receive exclusive perks. Link in the description.
Dear Christopher, here is your friend Thomas the Tank Engine. He wanted to come out of his station yard and see the world. These stories tell you how he did it.
Let's just get through this. Season 14 might have the least interesting production of the series, at least so far. Not all that much is known about it, and it can be assumed that the same production process used for Season 13 was used here. Sam Barlow, the story executive of the series, states in his interview with SIF that the special this year, Misty Island Rescue, was conceived at an Indian restaurant in London by him, director Greg Tiernan, and head writer Sharon Miller. The idea was to do something extraordinary with Thomas, and to expand their horizons a bit. They talked about all sorts of broad story ideas, and the one that stuck was a sort of Robinson Crusoe type story, which ultimately became Thomas getting washed up on a deserted island. As he states, it seemed totally insane, and that was why it appealed to us. Nitrogen Studios started pre-production on Misty Island in June 2009. The season itself was worked on alongside the movie. Only one new voice actor joined the cast this season, and he ultimately didn't even end up appearing this year. It was Rupert Dagus, who was signed on to play Diesel 10 in the post-credits scene of Misty Island Rescue, and all future appearances.
You'll be laughing on the other side of your boilers soon, silly steamies.
However, after test screenings, some higher-ups said that Rupert's voice for the character was too scary, others too campy, and others too theatrical. And so, Diesel 10 was recast with Matt Wilkinson instead. Rupert's Diesel 10 voice was revealed in a work reel posted online by Nitrogen, however. And, funnily enough, Rupert's evil laugh is still used in the final dub.
You'll be laughing on the other side of your boilers soon, silly steamies.
He would go on to voice Birdie, Butch, and new characters Dart and Flynn, all of which first speak in the next season. Misty Island Rescue had its worldwide premiere in the summer of 2010, and Season 14 followed in October. In 2011, there was some backlash against Hit Entertainment in the UK regarding earlier series episodes removing Christmas being mentioned from their winter episodes, and replacing those terms with the more politically correct winter holidays.
It was winter holiday season on the island of Sodor.
Critics thought it was strange to remove such terms in a series that was created by a reverend. As a result, Hit responded to the backlash by going back and having all the winter episodes this season, and the next, redubbed for the UK, replacing all mentions of winter holidays back to Christmas.
The winter holidays are a very special time on the island of Sodor. The Christmas holidays are a very special time on the island of Sodor.
This required bringing Michael Angelis and all the voice actors back to re-say the lines.
We're getting ready for our winter holiday party.
What's a winter holiday party?
We're getting ready for our Christmas holiday party.
What's a Christmas holiday party?
The episodes present on the Complete Series 14 DVD used the redub versions. They did not make these changes to the US dub, interestingly, probably because there was no big backlash here. From season 17 or so onwards, the politically correct terms were no longer used in either dub. Some of you from the really old days may remember there was a time long ago when I used to actually like this movie. I know, crazy, right? I don't know what it was exactly I saw in it. I wanted to go into this seeing it with new eyes. Is there actually some redeeming qualities about it? Maybe this movie that everyone hates is actually okay, and it's just overhated. Yeah, no. It's still a flaming turd. I can't stand it. It is, in my opinion, the worst written Thomas movie ever. I'm unable to bear this all on my own, so I called up a good friend of mine to watch it with me. Everyone's favorite cartoon boat, Trampy.
Misty Island Rescue.
Why does he say the title when... What was the point of that?
He just said it and there's no text on the screen. Like Michael Brandon, what if I'm deaf and I don't know the title of the movie? Dum dum.
So the first, 6-ish minutes are actually pretty solid. It's all set up, but it's enjoyable. The animation is notably good. That intro shot of the camera following Harold through the clouds and revealing the new rescue center is great. Paired alongside the epic score by Robert Hartshorn, a lot of promise is shown here right out of the gate. You can tell right away that they wanted this to be a movie of a much grander scope than anything before it. For those who have never seen this movie, this is the basic setup. A new rescue center is being built on Sodor, and it's being built with Joby wood, a rare and special type of wood. The wood finally arrives one day on a big ship at Brendam Docks, and the engines all wish to have the honor of delivering it. The problems with the film first start to occur as soon as Diesel shows up here.
What about me, Thomas? I'm a really useful engine, too.
No, Diesel! I'm sure Sir Topham Hatt means a really useful steamy. You'll never be that.
Where did that remark come from?
God damn.
Rude.
Why is he so mean? He didn't even say anything. What the Just wanted to be useful.
Diesel's just I can be really useful too, and Thomas is go yourself. I've always taken issue with how this whole scene is written. Thomas's line here makes it seem like Diesel can't be useful because he is a Diesel, not because of, his entire history as a character. It comes off as unintentionally racist. If that was the intention of the writer, then the logical way to continue this would be to make this part of an arc for Thomas. Throughout the film, he realizes Diesels can be useful, and he was wrong to have that prejudice. Makes enough sense, right? But not only would that just be dumb because of how many other Diesels in the show Thomas is friends with, one of which we see him being friendly with not long after this, but it's dumb because this plot doesn't go anywhere. Diesel gets totally shafted in this. He's treated like a villain, but because of the way the scene plays out, he actually comes off as the sympathetic one to me. He only expressed that he wanted to be useful, and Thomas is rude to him out of nowhere. See, this is something I didn't understand either, right?
Yeah.
So Diesel wants to be useful, right?
Right.
He's never done anything wrong yet at this point. He's I just want to be useful too. Thomas says, F off. Now Diesel's trying to be helpful. I guess he's not supposed to take the logs here. But, he's still depicted as the bad guy. What is he doing wrong?
Dude, why don't they just kill Diesel? Why not?
I do get what they were trying to set up here. Thomas is wrongfully rude, and that's kind of tied to his overall arc of the movie that learning his ways are not the best. But in this specific case, Thomas ended up being right, because Diesel wasn't useful, and he lost the logs. So, what's exactly being said here? But I'm wasting my breath here. None of this matters, because Diesel is not relevant at all for the rest of the movie after this scene. The movie just forgets he exists. He loses the logs, Thomas saves him. That's it. He's just a plot device. He has one more little scene where he begrudgingly says good luck to Thomas.
Goodbye, Thomas. And good luck, Thomas.
And that's it. No more Diesel. His arc of wanting to be useful goes nowhere.
All right, hold on. He pulled Diesel out of work, and then he went to the docks for Diesel to tell Thomas goodbye or whatever. And then he's like, all right, Diesel, you're done. Go away.
That was the epic conclusion to that whole plot. That's it. That's all. That's all we got.
Does Diesel ever appear in this movie again?
No, that's it.
What the fuck? What was the point of that?
Dude, there were hundreds of logs on that ship when it arrived. But because Diesel lost 9 of them, the rescue center cannot be finished.
Diesel lost the Joby Wood. That is very bad. The search and rescue center will be delayed.
Really? This is just like that stupid season 12 episode where the bridge couldn't be finished because Thomas lost like 12 bricks or something. Come on now. So Thomas's reward for rescuing Diesel is going to a rescue center on the mainland. Just because. I guess he gets to go on a vacation there and do something. They never say what. Whatever they can pull to get Thomas on a boat. That's all that matters, because that's what the plot needs to happen. He's going to the mainland. Sure, why not? But the boat is full, so Thomas and all his brilliance suggests going on a barge.
Look, that's perfect! I can ride to the mainland on that!
And there just so happens to be a barge with rails on it, conveniently at the docks waiting for him. The ship leaves, the chain snaps, because of course it does, and Thomas gets lost at sea. He wakes up on Misty Island, and his barge just so perfectly aligns with a random rail dock on the shore.
I like how even the water was tired of Thomas, so it conveniently lined the raft to the rails of the island.
It's like the ocean in Moana. It's alive. It helped him there.
It's like, I'm sick of this, dude. I'm dumping him here.
The amount of conveniences that have occurred so far just so this plot could happen is countless. By this point, my suspension of disbelief is utterly destroyed, and we haven't even met the logging locos yet. So Thomas explores Misty Island for a bit.
I will not be scared. I will find a way to puff home to my friends by the end of the day.
Oh God, the rhyming. This is the other thing that this movie is known for, where Thomas has suddenly become Dr. Seuss, and everything has to rhyme.
One biff, one bash, and there's never a crash.
Diesels are no good, the Steamies always say. But I'll show them they're wrong by the end of the day.
I'll be the most useful. I'll be the best one. I'll huff and I'll puff till the job is well done.
Who are you talking to? It's like talking to himself.
I think all the engines are just like insane. They just talk to themselves. Everyone just is like whatever about it. Now, it didn't start here. They've done random rhymes like this in the past. I remember this one from Hero of the Rails.
I'll show Thomas who's strong and who's weak. He'll puff home with a squeak and a creak.
But this is definitely where it started to become noticeable, because they overdo it, and it is unbearable.
Gordon can heave and haul. You will hurry and scurry.
What does that even mean? You're just saying random words that rhyme at this point. They don't even make sense.
It's a huff and a puff, a whir and a whoosh, and we'll be there.
Stop it. No one talks like that. It isn't cute, it's just annoying.
I make good decisions. That's what I was told. I will not be fearful. I'll be brave.
Stop it. Sam Barlow stated in his SIF interview that this new alliterative dialogue was intentional. It was, quote, meant to try and preserve some of the literary heritage in the CGI era, to give the storyteller a little more to do than just read stage directions. But even he admits it was unpopular. Finally, Thomas meets the logging locos.
I'm Bash. I'm Dash.
And I'm Ferdinand.
And then he wastes half the movie on Misty Island doing nothing that furthers the plot in any way. I don't even know what Thomas is doing at this point. I thought his goal was to find a way back to Sodor. But suddenly that doesn't matter, and he's more concerned with loading logs to take back to Sodor? Bruh, you don't even know how you're gonna get back to Sodor at this point in the story. Why are you so concerned with the logs? So he just dicks around on Misty Island for a while, and then he starts bossing the logging locos around? Why? What are they doing exactly? Why are they letting Thomas tell them what to do? This is their home. What is happening? This goes on for about 20 minutes until finally the locos mention a tunnel to Sodor.
We could wait for a boat, or we could try the tunnel.
Why did they get mad at him when he said that? What I don't understand is, why do the logging locos help Thomas here? What's in it for them exactly?
Why are they going with him?
That's what I was about to ask. Why are they going with? If they know they're not going to make it, why go? Why are they there?
Like, why is he bringing them?
Why do they willingly go into the tunnel? They know it's dangerous. They know they don't have enough fuel for the journey.
We don't have enough oil to puff to Sodor.
And Thomas isn't forcing them to go. I guess he's insisting that they go, but they have free will. They can just not follow him. It would be one thing if Thomas was like, I need your help because I can't haul these heavy logs on my own. If you come with me, I'll make sure Sir Topham restores all of you. You know, give them a reason to want to take the risk. He just says, you must. And they're like, okay. They just go with, because plot. And despite their concerns about their lack of fuel, one of them isn't even pulling anything. Oh my god. I think this movie asked the audience to suspend their level of disbelief too much. Just the mere concept of this thing is too much for this universe. A mysterious island right next to Sodor that has an American logging railroad on it that serves no people, which just so happens to be connected to Sodor via an underwater tunnel. The amount of random conveniences that occur are countless. The barge with rails existing, the barge washing up on the rail dock perfectly. Whiff just so Whoa, Whiff again? Why do you keep being relevant in my videos? Whiff just so happens to know about the tunnel to Misty Island, which just so happens to be right next to the rescue center.
You can't build your office here, sir.
You've got to be kidding me. That's what Topham is concerned with in this moment? His office? And he thought about putting it in a tunnel? What?
Wait, he wants to build his office in there?
Is that what happened? Is that what he said?
Yeah. Yeah, Whiff's like, you can't build your office in there, sir.
What? Wait, I thought he was worried about Thomas. He's thinking about his office now?
Yeah, like,
what?
wait, I thought he was looking for Thomas.
I don't have time to worry about an old tunnel, Whiff.
Then why are you looking at it? No one has apparently ever seen Misty Island before, only for the mist to conveniently clear so Percy can see the island for the first time.
Cranky! Salty, look! That must be Misty Island!
This is the absolute dumbest moment in the entire movie. You're telling me no one has ever seen Misty Island before, ever. The giant island right there. There has never been a clear sunny day at Brendam Docks? Oh my god.
This is the greatest movie of all time.
You know what would have been so much better?
If it just risen out of the ocean like f***ing Atlantis.
Yeah, clearly, yeah. Making stuff happen just so the plot can move forward removes any sense of stakes or realism from the story. I'm quite aware it's Thomas the Tank Engine I'm talking about here, but it's hard to feel scared for these characters or get invested in their plights when we know every obstacle that they will face will just somehow be resolved by happenstance. This, right here, is why this movie is so boring. At this point, it's also painfully obvious that the movie is not going to pay off so much of what it set up. There are so many pointless filler scenes in this that establish something, only for them not to be touched on again. Diesel is established as a major character with a clear goal that he wants to achieve, only to never appear again in the film. The rescue center is set up as a major new location, and the whole team is established in the opening scene, only for them to be forgotten about, and not be used in the big scene when an epic rescue occurs. There's a scene that establishes Gordon has been assigned to work with Whiff, only for Whiff's dump to never appear again in the movie, and the next time we see Whiff, he's not with Gordon. So what was the point of this scene?
Oh, the indignity!
Old Wheezy has no relevance. It appears once and isn't mentioned again. The Shake Shake Bridge is never relevant again. There's some worry in the air about Thomas firing up Hee Haw, but you guessed it, Hee Haw is never mentioned again. There's no reason to have Thomas go back to Misty Island to find Topham at the end of the movie. This reunion could have just occurred on Sodor, but they needed to pad out the runtime somehow, right? Half of this movie is utterly pointless filler. This really would have benefited from a couple more rewrites to try and connect all these loose ends, and dispose of ones that were not relevant overall. It really puts into perspective how little story this movie actually has. It's the 40-minute mark by the time Thomas and the logging locos get stuck in the tunnel, which is like the big dramatic scene. That's about 2/3 into the movie, and it feels like barely anything has happened so far. Ironically, this high-concept idea for an adventure movie that involves Thomas getting lost at sea, winding up on a deserted island, and trapped in an underwater tunnel only has enough plot to fill maybe 30 minutes. It has so very little to say. It's all gimmick and no substance. Oh yeah, and then Diesel 10 shows up at the end after the credits. I honestly forgot that this even happened. It's meant to be a teaser for the next movie, Day of the Diesels. And it's admittedly pretty cool to see Diesel 10 again, seemingly back to his old evil ways. But it's so out of left field. Why in this movie, about a logging railroad on a deserted island, would you reveal that Diesel 10 has returned? They've never done an end credit scene ever in any Thomas movie, but like Misty Island, that's the one we're going to set up the next movie in. That's the one we're going to bring Diesel 10 back in. Like, why that?
Diesel 10 will return in Avengers Day of the Diesels.
If I were to boil it down, I think Misty Island Rescue sucks for 3 main reasons. 1, there is too much pointless filler that goes nowhere. 2, the characters, other than Thomas, lack arcs. They're all unintelligent and make baffling decisions.
James, Gordon, and Edward, you must sail to Misty Island immediately.
Why? Why would you do that? Just send Harold. He can fly. You'll be there in 5 minutes. And 3, the amount of plot conveniences remove any stakes. There's so little to get invested in, and the atrocious alliterative dialogue doesn't help.
I won't give up. I'll whistle once more. I know they're here somewhere. Of that I'm quite sure.
Shut up. Now this is the part of the video where I think I need to go get my head checked. Because as flawed and bonkers as it is, there are some sprinkles of good in Misty Island Rescue. Don't worry, this won't take long. The animation direction is overall good, and it's a real step up above the previous season. That intro shot with Harold in particular was great. Every shot is composed very well. Like even in mundane shots where it's just a character talking, they make the scene interesting by having details blurred in the foreground, or slightly obscure the screen by placing the camera behind an object in the scene. They really take advantage of what's on the set. Visually, this movie is very appealing. I like how the scene where Topham finds out Thomas is missing is lit and shot.
I see. I understand.
There's a nice dramatic impact, and the lack of a narrator here makes this solemn moment feel sincere. I like the sequence of Thomas exploring Misty Island for the first time. It's mysterious, and the direction is fun. You never get a good look at anything. You're seeing and hearing this weird place for the first time entirely through Thomas's point of view. Misty Island in general looks really cool. There's tons of pretty sets. The movie feels expensive. You can tell that Nitrogen put a lot of time and effort into creating and designing Misty Island. The score is pretty great too. Robert Hartshorn continues to up his game with the show's music. This is the most cinematic score a Thomas production has had at this point, and it's the best thing about the movie, honestly. Even though the main theme is eerily similar to Pirates of the Caribbean. I think this kind of stuff is why I liked Misty Island when it first came out. There was very clearly an attempt here to make this more dramatic than the regular show. I like some of the subtle continuity here with the previous season. Hero is still on Sodor after returning at the end of season 13, and Spencer is finally going back home after arriving in Hero of the Rails and staying through the season. That attention to detail is pretty cool. I like this look on Percy's face when Salty first appears. Salty was the first major returnee in CGI, so I wonder if Percy's surprised expression was the animators trying to be meta. He's surprised to see an old face alongside the audience. Michael Brandon has some good moments in this as narrator.
They were all stuck in the tunnel, and no one knew they were there.
Again, I like Brandon much more when he's only the narrator and not doing the character voices. This line, admittedly, is very sweet.
Don't worry, I can find another hat, but I'll never find another Thomas.
Behold, one of 2 good pieces of dialogue in this movie. Here's the other one.
That's what Sir Topham Hatt says.
Who's Sir Topham Hatt? He sounds funny.
This bit is way funnier in the UK dub.
That's what the Fat Controller says.
Who's the Fat Controller? He sounds funny.
I actually really like this bit. I think it's fun seeing non-Sodor characters hearing Topham's nickname for the first time. It is, admittedly, a little strange to those not in the know. And, that's it. Misty Island Rescue is boring, nonsensical, and baffling. But I'll admit that there is something here. You could argue that the mere concept of this is just too crazy for the world of Thomas. But it is an interesting, all-new concept for a Thomas movie. There was some creativity here. Sharon Miller recently stated on the 80th anniversary podcast that this was her favorite movie that she wrote. She enjoyed bringing Thomas into a new world where he met all new people.
And the other one that I really, really love is Misty Island Rescue. It's interesting with Misty Island Rescue. I loved it because I wrote it creating a world where you go and meet completely new people and you don't tell them what to do. You watch and you learn and you enjoy.
And I think her stance is entirely fair. Coming into a new environment and respecting the ways of the people who live there is a good lesson for kids to learn. It's a great moral for a movie like this. And I feel this movie could have been something really entertaining. It was just executed poorly. And the script needed some revisions before moving into production. And I'll be focusing on that in my next video, where I completely rewrite Misty Island Rescue. Ah yeah, the Misty Island train does not stop here. That video will be coming very soon. Oh yeah, I guess I should probably talk about the Season 2. Honestly, there's not a whole lot to say with Season 14. Season 14 just might be the most nothing happens season of the show ever. Every episode this year is plagued by the formulaic writing style that these seasons are known for. We are fully in the every episode is the same era. And Season 13 was pretty bad too in this regard. There's quite a few episodes this season that use the same premise. I had to look up what happened in Thomas in Charge and Thomas's Crazy Day, because I couldn't remember which title belonged to which. Either one could fit either episode. They're almost the same plot. Thomas is put in charge of something, and he screws it up. And both mostly take place at the docks. It's the same main setting for both. No wonder people get so bored with these episodes. They're all so samey. The characters are all so utterly brain dead. Almost every single one of them, just so these stupid plots can happen. Here's a couple examples of many. James doesn't want to wear a lamp, so he's unable to see the other engines in the dark, and he calls them the wrong names.
Lamps just make engines look silly. Goodbye, Henry.
I'm not Henry. I'm Thomas.
But he can still hear them, can't he? He should know what Thomas's voice sounds like, right?
Patrick, is that you?
What?
I said, is that you?
I can't hear you! It's too dark in here!
Edward brings Sir Topham's car to the steamworks and asks Kevin to fix it. So Kevin puts a funnel on it.
It's a fun funnel!
How does that fix the car, exactly? Kevin, I know you're not the brightest bulb in the box, but come on, man. Thomas wants to show Sir Topham how useful he and the other engines are being. So he shouts at Percy and Mavis to push their trucks hard, even though he can clearly see that they're on the same track.
Push!
The coal trucks bashed and biffed together. Coal dust scattered and splattered everywhere.
Well, gee, Thomas, what did you think was going to happen? This is pretty much every episode this year. Everyone is dumb now. Stuff has to happen because that's the gimmick of the story. There has to be a crash, there has to be a silly moment with the car, etc. It doesn't matter how we get to these points, they just have to happen. It doesn't matter if the characters have agency or make irrational decisions to get us there, as long as we get there. It's painfully frustrating. And on top of that, the dialogue is just as awful as ever.
If I bounce along the track,
Perhaps that sound will soon come back. The sound that makes me smile and giggle. When I puff on tracks that jiggle. They made a very funny sound. It made me laugh. It made me happy.
Who talks like this? This is the most unnatural sounding dialogue I've ever heard from this show. Can you just imagine what Martin Sherman or Ben Small must have been thinking when reading these lines? I hate how the characters always spell out every mistake that they've made and everything they're sorry for.
I thought a lamp made me look silly. Now I really look silly. I'm sorry, sir. This is all my fault.
I didn't take the washing to the laundry lady. Now the team have nothing to wear for the opening game. The game can't take place. And it's all my fault.
I'm sorry, sir. I've let you down. I haven't looked after the very special box. It has disappeared. I haven't told any of the engines to be here, and you won't be proud of me.
It's so lazy. It's the same shit every single time. This is awful. I can only rag on the same stuff so much. I mean, you all get the gist of this. The writing is really bad, and every episode sticks basically to the same formula. Let's change gears and look at some of the season's bright spots. The animation quality has improved a little bit since last season. Not hugely, mind you. It's still the same angles of the engines reused over and over again. There's not much visual variety in that regard. A lot of this just feels like season 13 continued. I'm pretty sure they even reused some of the same shots from that season and just changed details. But there is more variety in regards to the lighting and set dressing. James in the Dark is the standout in this aspect, which takes place wholly at night. There's some beautiful sunset shots at the beginning, and it's nice seeing some of the sets at nighttime, with the only lighting coming from street lamps and the like. Robert Hartshorn's score continues to get better and better with each passing year. One of my favorite themes from him ever is the race theme in Charlie and Eddie, which is from this season. It gets used in a couple other episodes this season, which I forgot about, so that was a nice surprise for me when they popped up. And I really like this putting things right theme that gets used in Being Percy. And I admit it, I like the hoedown country music that they use for the logging locos. These themes, as well as the pretty epic score for Misty Island, really shows just how much range Hartshorn has as a composer. I genuinely love his work for the CGI series. And just the same case as last season, the subtle gags with the humans in the background still remain as a highlight. Although I didn't notice as many this time. Many have pointed this one out before, but I love this gag.
I've found the biggest, brightest hat. The children will be pleased with that.
The guy in the background worriedly grabs his hat as he hears Thomas say that. That's so funny. I feel like Dowager Hat was their favorite character to animate this year. She notably has some pretty great animated movements and facial expressions in the episode she appears in.
It isn't that I don't want to do it anymore. Take me back to Sodor at once.
Oh, I have much more to say about her later. As far as voice acting goes, there's not much to highlight here. Michael Brandon is totally fine as a narrator. I actually didn't mind hearing him, though I'm kind of meh on his Diesel voice.
I'm not busy today. I can take your apples to market.
Like, I can easily tell that's him.
Like, Michael Brandon, like, he has range, but with Diesel, it's like slightly gruffer Michael Brandon. Like, I can tell it's still him.
Yeah, it's not different enough from, like, the narration. But apparently, Diesel is Brandon's favorite, so it's pretty nice that they let him voice him. Michael Angelis, meanwhile, has fully entered his I don't care anymore era. Listen to how he narrates the openings of these episodes.
On the island of Sodor, the engines like to puff and huff their hardest. The engines on the island of Sodor always like to be busy. On the island of Sodor, all the engines are busy engines. There are parties and presents, trees and tinsel, lights and laughter.
He's been narrating the show for so long at this point. He just sounds a little over it. Now, I did not watch all of both dubs of the season for this video. I just couldn't be bothered to put myself through the whole thing twice. But I did watch both dubs of Misty Island. I actually don't think I've ever heard the UK dub of this movie until now. And man, Carey Shale is fantastic as Diesel. Listen to his performance here compared to Michael Brandon's.
Oh me! Oh my! Oh help! Oh me! Oh my! Oh help!
The US dub really missed a trick by not making him their Diesel sooner. Carey Shale might be my favorite voice actor of the series. He has so much range. Keith Wickham got to voice Salty in both dubs.
An engine was lost on Misty Island. He huffed and he chuffed. He hoped for help.
I just love his Salty voice, even though we hear very little of it this year. Salty's such an animated character, even in these seasons, and it really feels like a role that Keith gets to have a lot of fun with. I am getting a little tired of saying the show looks and sounds good. This is kind of becoming a trope in these videos, I feel. How many times can I really reiterate that Nitrogen always did a good job animating the show, Hartshorn produced a good score, and the voice actors are all solid? The problem with these Thomas productions is always, time and time again, the writing. It's always the writing. I did not do a list of random observations last time because that video was already running long, but we have some time now, so... I love how they didn't even attempt to explain how Thomas turned around here to leave. He just flips somehow. I like how Topham calls Henry old here.
Henry, you are an old and kind engine.
I don't know why, but I just found that funny. And then Thomas calls him old again in another episode.
You're old and wise.
Huh?
Man, why are you guys shaming Henry like that? He's not that old, and he doesn't sound old, especially in the US dub, where he sounds like this.
Of course, sir. I will take the best care of the box.
There are 2 episodes this season where James bumps into buffers while pulling coaches.
James bumped the buffers, and he bumped into the buffers.
There's 2 episodes where Topham's car gets ruined and needs to be fixed. And there are 2 episodes where Gordon gets covered in coal soot, and they use the same model texture both times. I totally forgot that this was this weird period when Diesel had a generic American air horn. Oh, I hate that. What was the point in changing that? Mr. Bubbles looks so cursed without his red nose. Makes me kind of wonder what he'd look like without the costume and makeup. Edward acts as if he has never been to Misty Island before in the Joby Wood episode.
This is a very strange place.
Even though he was there in the movie, they even showed him using the tunnel in that. This episode was written by Sharon Miller, who also wrote the movie. How did she forget that Edward has been there before?
That's right, boss. Boss?
I still don't get this joke. Did he get mad because Ferdinand said boss instead of sir? That would make sense if they were corrected to say sir after, but they don't. They say his full name, something the engines never do.
Sir Topham Hatt! Sir Topham Hatt!
That's right.
The joke makes even less sense in the UK dub, where they actually call him Fat Controller to his face.
Fat Controller! Fat Controller!
That's right.
I mean, I'd rather be called boss than that. What the hell? This bit got a chuckle out of me.
My name's Whiff, and this is Scruff the Scruncher.
I know.
Why did Whiff introduce himself to Gordon? They've met many times already, including in Misty Island. Again, did Miller forget what happened in her own movie? It does make Gordon's bored response funny, though. This shot of Toby might be the funniest thing out of the whole Nitrogen era. This one frame raises so many questions. How did he derail like that? He looks photoshopped in. It looks like someone just picked him up and put him there. In third place is a mega tie between several characters, all with one lead role each. This includes James, Emily, Edward, Toby, Diesel, Victor, Gordon, and the Logging Locos. In second place, with 2 leads, goes to Henry. Nice to see him getting some love. And in first place is Thomas, with 9 leads. That's less than last time, at least. This season featured our first bunch of returning characters in CGI, and these include Salty, with Diesel 10, and Arian Burt. Salty returned in Misty Island to do absolutely nothing at all in the season. I think he speaks in 1 episode, and he has like 2 lines. I will say though, considering how underused and chopped out Salty was in the last few seasons, it was nice that he got a big scene in Misty Island that was plot important. Ari and Bert show up and also do nothing. I don't even know why they brought them back, to be honest. Of all episodes they could have used them in, they used them in the one that takes place at the Steamworks. The Diesel 10 tease in Misty Island implies that they had Day of the Diesels already in mind, which establishes that the Diesels are all repaired at the Diesel Works, not the Steamworks. So why are Ari and Bert here at the Steamworks? They could have literally used any other characters here instead of them. The returnee that saw the most use was Whiff. He got a pretty big role in Misty Island and appeared in 2 episodes. That's a lot for a returnee in this era. This season introduced the dump that he works at, which I think is actually pretty fun. He was first introduced as a garbage engine.
My name's Whiff because I'm a bit smelly. You're going to help me collect rubbish.
So logically, there would be a dump that he takes the garbage to. This feels like a natural expansion in Sodor's world building. Scruff gets introduced as someone who also works at the dump, but I don't know why we even needed him. Whiff alone was enough, and there is nothing to Scruff. He has like 6 lines of dialogue this whole season.
Hooray!
Like seriously, who are you? Let's talk about the Logging Locos. Okay, here's my hot take opinion on them. Yes, everyone thinks they're annoying, and they are. But here's the thing. Everyone is annoying in these seasons, because everyone is written poorly. In the context of Misty Island Rescue, the Logging Locos are kind of the only ones with a lick of sense. They do try to warn Thomas again and again, but he doesn't listen to them. They are bad characters, but not because they're annoying, but because of the context in which they exist. Misty Island doesn't make any sense, so they don't make any sense. And that is frustrating. But even more so than that, I find the Logging Locos frustrating because there's nothing to them. They don't have any of their own goals. They don't show any desire to improve their life on Misty Island or long to venture off the island to somewhere else or something. They're just basically along for the ride in every story they're in, which usually follows Thomas and his idiotic decisions. I do admittedly like the whole mischievous twins with the slightly dumber bigger brother dynamic that they did with them. They kind of give me Lost Boy vibes from Peter Pan. But I feel you can only do so much with this shtick before it runs out of steam, pun intended, unless you try to develop them more. I mean, really, how much mileage can you get out of a character who predominantly says only 2 words?
That's right! That's right! That's right!
Unironically, I felt the best use of them was in their solo episode, Merry Misty Island, where they want to host a Christmas party. They actually want to accomplish something, and they need to figure out problems. It allows their humorous nature to take center stage, and we get to learn a little bit about what makes them tick.
Here's the Christmas tree!
Do you think that's right? I don't know.
Ultimately, I think they'd actually be okay as characters if they weren't so underwritten and so tied to this ridiculous location. I don't like them, but I also don't think there isn't potential there. I admittedly would have liked to see how the Brenner era team would have handled these guys. I have nothing to say about Thomas. He is stupid and unlikable, and I dislike seeing his face. So, it was nice that a little more focus was given on everyone else this year, especially compared to last season. The first half of the season only features 2 Thomas episodes, and the rest are all focused on others. It was refreshing to see characters like Diesel and Victor get the spotlight for once. Let's talk about Victor. Victor got his first solo role in Victor Says Yes. In this episode, Victor agrees to fix too many engines at the Steamworks at once, and it all blows up in his face.
I thought you were really useful.
The notion that Victor fixes the engines himself is so dumb. He clearly doesn't. He doesn't have hands. The workmen do. So Victor getting all flustered doesn't really make any sense. But I like the idea of a story that shows Victor in a position of vulnerability. He's always clear-headed and seemingly in control of everything. But here we get a glimpse of what happens to him when he loses that control. He gets flustered and he overthinks things. It's a nice expansion on Victor's character, and a good example of showing that even the most perfect characters can have moments where they lack composure. Henry was the only main cast member other than Thomas to get more than one episode this year. Season 14 had a lot of Henry love. Both of his episodes deal with a similar character flaw of his. He overthinks things and worries too much. Topham even says as much.
Henry, you are an old and kind engine, but you worry too much.
Again, why do you guys think he's so old? As we all know, this was a slippery slope for Henry, because only in a few seasons' time, Henry becomes the biggest hypochondriac of the series. Now, Henry has always been rather sensitive. He is the gentler of the big 3. But this overly worried side of him really got its start here, in my opinion, and it only worsens as the show goes on. I also just want to put it out there that Henry's health and safety actually makes no sense. Henry came across trucks just left out on the main line, and his first notion was to move them off the main line to avoid a collision occurring. I don't know why they were left on the main line there to begin with, but he's totally in the right to do this. Why is this episode framed like this was the wrong thing to do in this situation? That's stupid Nitrogen-era writing for you. As for the season's MVP, well, I admit it's kind of a weird choice. It's Diesel. Diesel does not appear a lot this year. He has one spotlight episode, a subplot in Misty Island that gets forgotten about, and, well, that's really it. But I think what they did do with Diesel in his minute appearances was actually kind of interesting, and I think worthy of a discussion. Both Diesel's movie subplot and his episode deal with the same theme: prejudice. Diesel ultimately wants to be useful.
What about me, Thomas? I'm a really useful engine too.
But the glory of the steam engines keep him from being praised and proving himself. He didn't even do anything wrong here, but because he is a Diesel, no one pays him any mind.
I'm sure Sir Topham Hatt means a really useful steamy. You'll never be that.
I am never clapped and cheered.
That's because you are a Diesel.
It's interesting how the tables have turned. When Diesel first arrived, he believed he was revolutionary because he was new and he didn't take the steam engine seriously. But now he's been around for so long that his hour in the sun has passed and the steam engines have outsurvived him. Now no one cares about him. Don't get me wrong, his episode still sucks. It's so boring and repetitive, but it's still admittedly kinda nice to see an episode that ends with Diesel getting a win for once. This is a major ongoing conflict for Diesel in the CGI series, especially when we get into the Brenner seasons. And it's kinda interesting seeing them deal with it head on for the first time here. It is so hard to pick a standout episode this year. It's a which one of these was the least bad kind of situation. As far as visuals go, James in the Dark was a standout, I think. It's a boring nothing episode, but it is at least quite nice to look at. When they were allowed to break free of the routine and have some creative freedom, Nitrogen really showed that they could create some artful scenes with their lighting. So screw it. I'll give the standout to this one. The worst is a no-brainer. It's Thomas and the Snowman Party. This has got to be one of the laziest written episodes so far. The plot is about children missing a hat for their snowman, so Thomas keeps an eye out for one on his travels. He finds 3 different ones, and he just takes them. He literally steals them. The worst part of it is, they show his crew walking out and grabbing them. Thomas's driver and firemen have no agency anymore. They have fully just become robots. They're the engine's hands. That's it. Thomas's driver steals the hats, and then Thomas realizes he stole hats. Oh no. So he goes and returns them. Was this really the best that they could come up with? They had to write 4 winter episodes for this season, and this is what was greenlit. Thomas stealing hats. Okay. Do you guys remember when this show was about trains? The second worst is also a winter one. Henry's Magic Box. This might be the most padded out episode I have ever seen in this show. Now I know saying one of these episodes is dumb is like saying water is wet, but man, what even is this plot? Topham tells Henry to watch a box, and that's the episode. Henry watches a box, leaves it, then comes back, leaves, then comes back. It's nothing. They extracted whatever they could out of this plot, but because they could only get like 5 minutes out of that, they then had to stretch out whatever they could to fill the runtime. So there's this whole drawn-out sequence of Henry telling the others about a festival happening later. One by one. It is excruciating. What an utterly nothing episode. Again, this is what was greenlit?
Henry felt silly. Again.
As for the sum up, I guess I'll give it to Pop Ghost Thomas. It's like the most generic, boilerplate, by-the-numbers, nitrogen-era episode ever. You all know the formula. Thomas has to deliver a special for the children. He makes one mistake while delivering it. Then he makes a second mistake. Then he makes a third mistake that's the worst of all. Uh-oh. Thomas ruined his special. But it's okay. Once he admitted that he was wrong to do what he did, he goes back to get the convenient second special, because Sodor always has a backup standing by just in case, right? Then he delivers it, and everyone laughs and is happy. Hooray. I'm so tired of this crap. These episodes all feel like they were written in a single night. It's not offensively terrible or anything. It's just formulaic, an embodiment of this whole season. Now for my favorites. Well, I actually have one this time, and it's Jitters and Japes. Now it's nothing amazing, but I think it's actually a solid episode for this era. Thomas is tasked with taking Dowager Hat on a tour. Taking into account that Dowager is old, Thomas asks Toby for advice on where to take her, who tells him that older folk like to take it slow. So Thomas does just that, and Dowager finds the tour boring. This is the first time that they really let themselves have fun with Dowager Hat. She is an inherently silly character. I mean, when you have Keith Wickham voicing her, why wouldn't you take advantage of that opportunity?
Make me quake until I shake!
The animation on her is also really expressive and fluid, especially here during her freakout scene.
It isn't, but I don't want to do it anymore. Take me back to Sodor at once.
They must have realized pretty quickly how much comedy they could derive from this inherently funny character, because she becomes a recurring character in pretty much every season after this. And I ain't complaining. I love Dowager Hat. Who doesn't? This episode is like the only one all season that Thomas is not an idiot in. His decisions make sense here. He was taking Dowager into consideration when taking her on her tour, and only after a conversation with her does he realize it's not what she wants.
Well, you didn't. I wanted thrills and spills, jokes and japes, jitters and flitters. That would be fun.
I don't know what any of those things are.
That would have been my reaction too. What the hell is a jitter or a flitter? What does she even mean by that? This also might be the only time in the whole Nitrogen era where Toby is depicted fairly in character, as an old, wiser engine that Thomas looks to for advice. not the pathetic beta who's afraid of wind or whatever the hell happened in his episode. Overall, Jitters and Japes, solid. I didn't hate it. I also kinda liked Thomas's crazy day. Not because it was a good story or anything. I purely liked this simply for Cranky. I respect how little of a Cranky gives about the logging locos in this. Thomas leaves him to watch them for a bit, but he doesn't care, and he just doesn't talk to them.
Cranky doesn't want to talk at all.
It's not my job to talk to engines.
Then Thomas leaves again, and when he comes back, Cranky is literally loading Ferdinand onto a ship to get rid of him.
This is not right.
I freaking love Cranky, man. He really doesn't give a single damn about any of this nonsense. These guys are annoying, so I'ma just get rid of them. Off to Timbuktu you go, Ferdinand. Cranky is so real for that. The word I'm going to use to describe this season is cookie cutter. And I think that sums it up pretty well. Every episode is the same. None of them really try anything new or do anything bold. These all feel like stories that were written in a single night. Misty Island Rescue is torturous, but I will give it this. It was something new, at least. I think it was too high concept of an idea to really work in the Thomas universe, but I can't fault the show for trying to push the envelope with it. It does not excuse how badly it's written, though. I think the season itself, however, is a slight improvement over season 13. The writing sucks hard, but it was kind of interesting seeing the kernels of stuff that eventually developed into major cornerstones of the CGI series in this. Things like Dowager Hat becoming a comedic recurring character, and Diesel's whole fight against Diesel prejudice. It's not necessarily all good things, because some things we hate about the CGI series started to blossom here too. The most notable thing being Henry becoming a hypochondriac. If we include Misty Island in this, then I think season 14 on the whole is a worse overall experience than 13. With it included, I would say it might be the worst of the nitrogen seasons, but I still haven't rewatched season 15 yet, which I do know from memory is also pretty awful. So we'll just have to wait and see. We're halfway through the sludge, people. Only a couple more of these until we get to the good stuff again. I can see that Brenner-shaped light at the end of the tunnel, and it can't come sooner. For this pick of the week, how about some good CGI Thomas content? This is The Sad Story of Glyn by Mainland Studios. Written by Chase TFE and created for the 80th anniversary on May 12th, this is a prequel to The Adventure Begins, showing what the life of the original number 1, Glyn, was like prior to Thomas's arrival. This shows how Glyn ended up at that sighting at Farquhar, and how Gordon and the others all knew him, etc. It's a clever, touching story, and I recommend it. Go check it out. I'd like to give a big old thank you once again to Trampy, who yet again endured some truly terrible Thomas content with me for this video. We changed it up a little bit this time and did a watch-along to Misty Island instead. A highlights reel of that is now up over on my second channel, The Lucky Tug. Link is in the description. The full hour-long uncut watch-along is available on my Patreon. Join today and you can watch our reactions to the entire movie in full. Link, again, is in the description. I'd also like to shout out a new up-and-coming channel, and it's called Talking Trains. Created by Hat Loving Gamer, aka the guy who made the Thomas GTA parody videos, this new channel of his is dedicated solely to his train animations. He has a new video on the way called Thomas and the Thunderbird, narrated by the one and only Mark Morahan. Head on over and subscribe. And this is the part of the video where I was going to plug my eBay shop. I've been doing some late spring cleaning and finally sat down and went through all the model trains in my collection that I'm ready to part with. I'm not offing my entire collection or anything, don't worry. These are all just the ones that I haven't looked at in a long time and I don't really need anymore. I would say if you're in the US and interested in some British model trains, here's your chance, and check out my eBay shop, but everything's sold. I posted everything on eBay earlier this week with the intention of plugging in this video, but I underestimated how quickly everything would sell. Everything sold in 2 days. I am just flabbergasted. Thank you to everyone who bought an engine. I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you all give those engines a good new home. I'll eventually put more stuff up at some point, so keep checking back. Link is in the description. Quite a lot to get through today. Whew. I hope you all enjoyed this retrospective, and I'll see you all soon for the Misty Island rewrite. Have a great day, y'all. Bye-bye.